Welcome, welcome, welcome back to Hot Chocolate and a Marshmallow. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and I'm glad you stopped in to join us for our next conversation. I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful day, and I look forward to this conversation. So, we're going to get started. This conversation comes off of the heels of a pretty lousy emotional weekend, and I'm sure you guys feel these emotional roller coasters with different feelings that you're having along this journey. And there's a ton of different feelings that you're going to feel in this journey. And you just have to find a way in a space where you can allow those waves of emotions to come through, and you just have to learn how to ride those out. We're going to talk about that just a little bit. Let me tell you a little bit about my weekend. So I had actually had the start of a fairly good weekend, at least what I thought was going to be a fairly good weekend. So, towards the end of the week, last week, I actually went to a Lions Giants preseason game, and I got to sit pretty close. Unfortunately, it was unfortunately it rained, but that was all good. I still was going to sit in those seats because they were like really really good field seats, and I had never done that before, so I was super excited and it felt good, and I really really enjoyed the time spent by myself after a crazy crazy long week. So that experience was fun. Then I come back with the expectation that I was going to spend time with my best friend and we were going to hang out, and just take some stress off, just lighten up a little bit because we don't really get that chance very often because sometimes our life is just a little hectic, with kids and whatnot, kids work, whatever it is that's on your plate. So anyway, so Friday comes along and I'm like, ugh, like I wake up and I'm just like, ugh, like I really don't feel like doing anything and I don't feel like being around anybody and I just don't feel like being bothered as much as just hours ago before I went to sleep. Like that was not the plan. The plan was we're going to go into a good weekend. Like I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to, hang out with the kids and my grandbaby, like all of this different, stuff. And that all just went kaput. Like in an instant, it goes kaput. So when you think in terms of the journey and, all of the emotions that you are experiencing them, this weekend that I've had is probably a weekend that many of you have felt, or a weekend that many of you are going to go through because of the range of emotions that you're going to go through. Understanding that coming out of a toxic situation or a hard situation where you have not expected anything to go the way it has gone. And even now, from day to day, a lot of things may trigger you or make you feel some type of way because it's just not going the way that you intended for it to go. And sometimes we just have to learn how to go with the flow, as much as sometimes we might not want that. But when it comes to our emotions, you really have no choice. Like, you really just have to go with the flow because your emotions are in charge. Like, they're in charge. You think about it. If you're happy, you're going to project happiness. If you're angry, you're going to project anger. Like, it's in charge of, what your actions are going to be or how you're going to react to somebody, based on how you feel, how your emotions are in that moment. And so for me, whatever it was, I don't know if it was, the idea that I was alone at this football game for the first time, that maybe that was a trigger for me that kind of set me back subconsciously and then just hit me all of the once, regardless of how much I enjoyed myself at the game. I'm not 100% sure if that was it, but it was just, or if it was just that I needed to take time out to just sit still and be quiet and just not be bothered. But anyhow, that's what I did. the weekend, and it felt good as much as it felt like, oh, I'm really not getting anything done. Like, I feel like I should, be doing so much more. And that all just went kaput. So, you guys, when everybody else out there, whether you're in the same situation, stage that I am, or coming up behind, um, please understand that these days, that you have like this, they are just fine. They are okay. They are days that you absolutely have to. Consider them self-care, self-love days, the days that you just have to sit in the house by yourself. Sometimes you just need that moment to reflect on whatever it is that you need to reflect on. Sometimes it might be that you're getting sat down in order to purposely and intentionally have to reflect on something that maybe just happened, or something that changed drastically in an instant for you. And I think that being able to sit down, as hard as it is, and to just sit in our feelings and how we feel, or why we feel angry, or what made us feel like that, or what are we going to do to get out of it, like, it's hard some days, but the reality is that's exactly what's going to help us grow. Like, I don't think, if you've never dealt with, and for the people who are ahead of, myself, and the people who are in my stage, or the people coming up behind us, for those people, like, they never would have been or gotten to the stage that they're at now if they did not sit and deal with those feelings. Think about somebody who had something bad happen to them, and maybe it was, per joke, or maybe it was on purpose, or maybe it was, not intentional. But if they had something bad for them and they couldn't forgive that other person, like, or deal with why they were feeling like that, or what triggered them to feel like that, or what are they going to do next, they just let that sit inside and fester. And then what? You see that person again, and then you're just going to continue to be mad at them for something that was unresolved, that could have been resolved in a matter of moments. So, if you don't want to sit in your feelings some days, um you're going to have to fight with yourself consistently, and you even put yourself at risk to losing relationships that may be helpful to you, because of the lack of wanting to see that you have to sit in those emotions, the to sit in the pain of why you're feeling like this, why this emotion has even come. um and so I think it's very hard. However, if you can take the time to realize that, as hard as it is, the beautiful side of it is that you will end up being able to manage and realize what emotion you're dealing with in that moment, and how to actually handle yourself in that moment. And I'm learning that through this process. And it's crazy because I see myself dealing with so many different scenarios in such a different way. And some of the ways might be similar, but to, how I've dealt with things before in the past, but I might have to adjust something along the way. And that's okay, because I'm finding out that how I'm adjusting it, it works for me. It doesn't have to work for everybody else, but it works for me in the sense that it's helping me grow, and it's helping me understand my emotional state a little bit more. And especially when you come out of a toxic relationship, you have to be able to understand your emotional state anymore, more than what you did before, because it's a completely different state of mind. And the if you've ever gone through mental or emotional abuse, which can, depending on how, I shouldn't even say that, there's the level of psychological, I guess, abuse that goes behind that, but which could be, mild to severe, I suppose, in many cases. When you look back, you realize how much you've done in with regards to your actions in order to survive. And now there are certain things that you don't need to do anymore in order to feel like you're going to make it. You don't have to, I don't know, I can't even think of an example right now, but there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to realize that, okay, I used to do it like this. I don't have to add all the extra sauce on top. I can just add a little bit of sauce on top if I need to, or add no sauce, or maybe here to a certain degree, I have to have extra sauce on top, but for the most part, it's so helpful. It's so helpful. And then not only that, it becomes more helpful when because then you're able to reach out to other people and say, hey, listen, I know I might not seem like myself right now, but here's the thing. This is what I'm going through. Understanding that not everybody is going to understand what you might be telling them, but sometimes I feel like if they have a tiny bit, like, hey, I'm just going through a lot right now. I just need a minute. I need a minute to process my thoughts, that sort of thing. And hopefully you'll get the response where it is encouraging for you. And if not, then that's a cutoff, and you have to move elsewhere, elsewhere to make sure that you're not receiving any of that negative energy. Because definitely going through this emotional roller coaster, like negative energy, additional negative energy on top of what you're already dealing with, is like a no good. Like, no good. Like, nope, no, thank you. Like, I don't want any other negativity around me. Like, I had enough. I'm good. Like, y'all can keep all that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like when you finally get to a point where you can actually just sit and say, okay, this is where I'm at in my stage, and then my journey of healing and getting through this process, like, that's a big step. It's a big step, because when you're going through the phases of grief and denial, those are some of the craziest phases to go through. And you're going through so much at one time that for you to be able to sit in there, it just, honey, it drove me crazy. Like, it drove me crazy, because it's like, now I got to sit in these feelings, and there's so many feelings, and there's so many thoughts, and there's so many emotions that you have going on that you don't know where the hell to start to try and figure out, okay, if I sit in this, then maybe this one will help. But then there's another wave of emotion that comes over before the other one is even over. And before you know it, like, you're just like, your head is spinning in circles. One, therapy. Therapy, therapy, therapy definitely helps. An outlet for you to be able to find where the emotions are, where they're coming from, and how you can handle it. I don't think if I didn't get into therapy, um, I would definitely not be where I am now. I definitely would have never taken the step to understand how and when these emotional roller coasters come. Um, I feel like for me, I do get in those spots where it's just like, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be called. I put my phones on do not disturb. If you're not one of a few handful of people, you're probably not going to get into me, whether you're family or not. That's just the state that I get into. And I know that. And when I do that, I know that I'm going through this wave of emotion that I have to sit in, for whatever reason, till I learn why I'm in that wave of emotion and why that wave of emotion has come. Understand that these waves of emotion that you got to learn to ride through, there's no time frame for how when they come. There's no time frame for how long they stay. You just have to ride it out, but trust me, when you ride it out, you feel better at the end. It is exhausting because, like I said in the beginning, you're going to have so much that you're going to be dealing with. And as you go through the journey, it's going to be a little less, and more being able to manage what you're going through. So you're going to have where you're like, okay, like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Okay, this is getting a little easier. Okay, this is exactly how I act. This is exactly this is me moving forward into this, more advanced stage of healing. once you get into that next stage, and I'm looking forward to it, is that you're going to look back just as we're looking back at moments in the current stage that we're in. For those who are riding with me in the stage that we're in now, like, I think that once you get to the next stage of full acceptance and you look back, and it's going to be like, oh my God, that was one hell of a journey. And I'm realizing it now, like it was one hell of a journey just to even get to where I'm at today. So to know that there's so much peace and freedom and enjoyment that comes with the journey, like you gotta go through the valley first. Like you just have to go through the valley first, and then once you get through the valley, like you know that there's the light and the sunshine and everything, much more beautiful than what you've already come through. I think that a lot of us, we do have to understand though, like that the time frame for what we're anticipating this is going to be all over is not what you're expecting, let me tell you, because time is not of any essence when it comes to your journey and to your healing process. Like time does not care. It doesn't care where you're at when you get away from an emotion that hits you that you need to sit in. It doesn't care what you have to do when you have to take the time out for yourself to process these thoughts and feelings. Like, and I've learned that going through this process where it's like time for me has been this thing where, oh, I should be able to do X, Y, and Z. And a lot of that sometimes I think does come from what we see people saying online, like, oh, well, it should take you this. By the time you reach 2 years, you should be getting over whatever it is that you're supposed to be getting over. And I don't think that that's 100% fully correct because everybody's different. Everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody falls backward a couple times before they go forward. So you can't tell somebody that, oh, it's going to take you 2 years and tell the next person it's going to take them 2 years, even if they had a very similar situation or even if they had two very different situations, because 2 years for one person might seem like a quick fix. 2 years for another person could be like 2 years in the longest years of their life. You know what I mean? And so you can't really put a thing where it's like, okay, it's going to take me this amount of time because this is what is being said it's going to take. No, your process is going to take however much time it takes you to put into your progress. Because the more you put into the progress, the more progress you're going to get out of the effort that you're putting in. The lack of progress that you put in, you're going to see the lack of results from the lack of progress that you put in. So you can't say for the person that is pounding the pavement as far as their healing is concerned versus the person who decides that in their head they want to put the pavement down but can't, but then turn around and say, okay, like, I'm going to do it here. I'm not going to do it consistently. They're not going to reach their journey at the same time. Like, they're not going to reach their complete healing at the same time of each other because one person is doing it the way they feel is that's necessary for them until they figure out that it's not the way that it needs to go. And then they have to start the process over again. So, like, once you get into this process, definitely stay strong and keep pushing forward, because as many times I just wanted to be like, duh, like I don't want to deal with this shit no more. Like I just want everything to just be done. Like just everybody leave me alone. Like I don't want to talk to anybody. Like you feel like that, but you gotta keep pushing. As long as you keep pushing yourself forward without worrying about whatever judgment or opinions or whatever it is that comes your way about your healing process, you are the one that's in charge. You're in charge of what your healing process looks like. You're in charge of how you heal, not the opinions or the judgment of other people are in charge. They're not the ones in charge. They're not the ones in charge of your healing. Those broken glass pieces and those shattered pieces that are laying around from your pain and your hurt, I can guarantee you that not one of them, once they get cut, are really, really going to want to really take the time to help you. And then this is where also you're gonna find out who really rides with you. You know what I mean? Who's really gonna ride with you? But I think in another part of, thinking in terms of like broken glass, shattered pieces, like that's also kind of a part of going through those feelings. You're going to get cut by all the shards that you have to turn around and try to pick up, or to toss away, to figure out what goes in the, what you're sweeping up to go in the trash, and, what pieces might work, to fit in the new picture, the new picture of your journey. And I think that, yeah, at one point, it was kind of cool because I thought of like a stained glass mirror, and I said to a friend, I was like, you know what? This journey is crazy and it's hard, and there's so many different colors to the picture that I've had before, and now it's all shattered, and I've got to find the pieces to put, the puzzle back together again. But it's not even, I realized in that moment that it wasn't even about putting this busted up puzzle back together again. It was about creating something new, completely new. Like I had a puzzle, or I had a piece of glass, or I had whatever it was that you want to think of mentally in regards to this. And so in my description, it was a stained glass window is what came to my mind. So this stained glass window is what came to my mind, that I have all these broken pieces of glass. My heart has been shattered. My world has been shattered. And it keeps continuously, all the glass pieces are busted, but then like somebody keeps pounding at those glass pieces to make them even smaller and smaller and smaller, piece of shards of glass. So when you think of that in terms of, you've got all this brokenness behind you, and when you're working at your journey and you're starting to pick up these pieces, you're picking up the pieces, and yes, you're going to get cut by some of the pieces, but some of the pieces are going to be pieces that you pick up and you place in your new picture, of what your life is currently looking like. So those moments of growth, those moments of emotions, those moments of, where you felt the healing, you felt the mental change, you felt what it was like to, accept whatever it was you needed to accept at that moment, and move forward to the next thing that you needed to accept. I think that when you understand that there is nothing that time will ever bring to you in regards to that, it's just a matter of what you're willing to do to get to where you want to go, and how much of your healing journey are you actually willing to face and endure. So I hope that for all of you out there, as tough as the journey is, that you continue to push forward, that you continue to fight the good fight to your, your peace, your happiness, your healed whole self, so that way you can pass that along to the next person. I hope that this conversation today has helped you in a way that you needed it and maybe didn't realize it. I hope that it wants you to share with somebody who maybe might be in the need of hearing something like this. I hope maybe it reached somebody who is trying to understand somebody who is going through a tough situation, and maybe you can start to understand and see some of the things that they might be going through, and maybe that can start a conversation with the two of you to a possible stronger connection. I hope that the next couple hours you guys get to share, finish off your 5 o'clock hour, however that may be. Take some time to reflect after we log off here. Take some time to reflect, whether it's music, whether it's dancing, whether it's crying, praying, praising, whatever it is. Take some time to reflect and get yourself to the next level that you are gearing up to go to. And I'll be ready to hear about it. For those who have been through the acceptance stage, We want to hear your comments on today's podcast episode. And for those who are in the current stage rocking with me right now, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've learned to sit in those, or what are some of the things that you guys have done to sit in those emotions, and what works for you, so we can help the people coming up behind us, because this is so important. All right, people, I gotta go. I will talk to you later. Thanks so much again for hanging out with us today at Hot Chocolate and a Marshmallow. Peace.